You're listening to the Grit to Growth podcast. Real talk with real business owners and professionals who built their freedom the hard way and now want more time, money, and impact.
Hello and welcome back to the show, everyone. I'm your host, Levi with Mailbox Money here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And joining me today is Anders Barton. He is involved in some pretty exciting things. He's involved in publishing, leadership, and even a new venture called Temple that he started that's aiming to connect faith, health, and growth. Anders, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, so Anders, why don't you start from kind of your beginning, your journey, and let the listeners hear a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So a big part of my story starts with my faith. So going all the way back to when I was a kid, my faith story starts when I was about 4 years old. I was in visiting a church. I grew up in a Christian household. So both my parents, we grew up, reading the Bible, going to church, that sort of thing. And we were visiting an uncle's church, and the service hadn't even started. We were just sitting in the pews waiting for church to start. And I turned to my mom and I go, Mom, and this is 4-year-old Anders. I go, Mom, I heard the Lord speak to me. And she's like, Oh, what did he say? And I said, He said, follow me and I will be your light. And she's like, Oh, that's cute. Okay. My 4-year-old son thinks that he heard the Lord. It could have been, somebody in the row behind us or whatever. But then the preacher starts speaking. And the verse that he's teaching on is in, for anybody who wants to look it up, is in Isaiah 60, verses 1 through 5. And it just starts off by saying, I've got it here just to make sure I don't mess it up. Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord has risen upon you. And so for her, in that moment, that was just kind of confirmation of like, okay, what he heard was legit, and I believe that he heard from the Lord. And so that's the very start of my story and my walk with the Lord. And ever since then, um, I've been doing my best to be faithful. And there's been ups and downs, ebbs and flows with that. It's just part of being human. Trying to be obedient, but stuff happens, and so I was doing that to my best. And I ended up going to college at Oral Roberts University down in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And
Absolutely.
from there, I graduated in 2020. And so I had a job lined up with a nonprofit down in Dallas, Texas. And as I'm getting that lined up, COVID hits in the spring of 2020, and everything just falls apart. And so I'm on the job hunt again, about to become a recent college graduate. And I do want to back up just a little bit. So
Yeah.
my dad, in the household that I was raised in, my dad, when he got out of college, he was a CPA to start, and so he was making like $19,000 a year. Not a lot, but that's where we were at. Wasn't raised in a wealthy household at all. Um, and then my mom, they started to have kids. They had me, and then I've got 3 younger brothers. So when the fourth was on the way, this is about 2003, 2004. My mom wanted to stay at home, take care of the kids, and so my dad needed to figure out how to make more money. And so he started to sell his old baseball cards and things on eBay. And while he was on eBay, he discovered something called an ebook, which again, 2003,
Okay.
2004.
No one had heard of that.
Yeah, nobody really knows what that is. And so he discovers it. He's like, okay, I can write this thing one time and then I can sell it over and over again for $20. And it's just like, seems like a no-brainer. And so he started to make ebooks. I think his first one was something on like how to build your own TV. And then the next one was something like how to get rid of ladybugs. Finally found his sweet spot in natural health remedies, which was inspired by his mom, who really took an interest to that. And he ended up partnering with a doctor out of California. And from there, they just started publishing ebooks on natural health remedies, kidney stones, acid reflux, and ultimately their bestseller became diabetes, how to reverse
Okay.
diabetes and control blood sugar. So that started in 2004, and he's been doing that ever since. And so I saw entrepreneurship firsthand, just growing up in that household. So going back to my story, just out of college, looking for a job. At this time, my dad he was still doing ebooks, but they also developed supplements for um, all those different issues. So they've got this specific supplement that helps people lower their blood sugar, and it's a more natural substitute for medicines, or not substitute, but can help work alongside it. Got to be
Yeah,
technical, but
so natural pairing there, right? He's writing
right.
on these things. You might as well be selling those things at the
Right.
same perfect business model. I love it.
Yep, exactly. So I'm out of college looking for a job, and he had just partnered with a phone sales team down in Austin, Texas. And he said to me, I'm pretty sure they're hiring if you want to go try it out. And with phone sales, how the gig was down there, it was a 20% flat commission. So there was no base salary. It was do or die, sink or swim. And so
You eat what you kill.
yeah, exactly. So I go down there for just like a test run, like 1 or 2 days, and I think I made like 3 sales. I think I sold, or no, 2 sales. I sold a total of 3 bottles, like $150 total, which 20% of that is like $30, and you can't
Yep.
can't live on that down in Austin, Texas. And I think they ended up being refunded too, so didn't start off too hot. But regardless of that, I decided to stick with it, and so I decided to move down to Austin for a month to really give it my best go, not just a day, but commit a month to it. I stayed in an Airbnb, and in that month, I started to show some promise, and then I decided to move in with some people down there, and yeah, ultimately just grew that skill of being a phone sales guy, and so did that for about 2 years or so. And it was something I got really good at. I started making, or I was on track to make 6 figures. And then through all that, it just ultimately wasn't something I was super passionate about. Um,
Hmm.
it wasn't fulfilling for me, and I wasn't really finding my fulfillment anywhere else. At that time in my life, I was really looking for something that would satisfy me in the job world, which is a whole other thing.
Anders, I can kind of before you get into your next part, I'd be interested to hear. Obviously, you said from a very young age you were very faith-based and everything. What was it like moving down there, um, and finding faith kind of on your own outside of what your family brought you to? Would you mind sharing that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so being a young adult, Austin, Texas was the place to be. That's where
Yep.
a lot of young adults were moving for whether it was job opportunity or just being a upbeat, lively town, whatever it was. There was a lot of new young adults there, and so I continued going to church. The school I went to that I mentioned earlier, Oral Roberts, they're a private Christian school, and so for a lot of time I've just always been in the church. But this was my own, like my first time out in the real world on my own. But I was very intentional to just get plugged in with community. I was looking for the churches I was going to. I was, curious about young adult communities that they had. Finding people that I could develop friendships with, and that we could run this race and do this life and have this faith together.
Yeah.
But it wasn't perfect by any means. Definitely had some like some not so great seasons of life down there and a lot of lessons learned the hard way. But ultimately, this is something I'll probably allude to later on the podcast. Um, just coming back to the Lord, in my faith, like he's seen as a good father, and if you think of like a father whose son is like disobeyed, and the son like recognizes his disobedience and comes back and like apologizes, if you're a good father, like you're gonna embrace them with open arms, take them back in and forgive him. And so I've definitely experienced that in my life, and a big part of that was down in Austin.
Yeah, it's part of your grit journey. It's you can't be at the top or on your, for lack of a better term, your faith walk, right? Without there's gonna be bumps in the road. So
Mhm.
amazing. All right, I'll let you continue on. Kind of, I think you were getting into what maybe brought you back here and what you did after your sales role in
Yeah,
cell phones.
yeah, absolutely. So I was doing sales, doing really well at it, but just ultimately wasn't satisfied with it. Also partially like missed my family. And so I was back here for a Thanksgiving break, or not a break, it was just Thanksgiving. And so I came back to celebrate with the family. And then I was driving back from Sioux Falls down to Austin. And I was listening to this audiobook by John Bevere called Driven by Eternity. And essentially, while I was listening to the book, I had a vision of an opportunity that I felt like God was putting on my heart, and in the vision, I just kind of saw all the people that I had spoken to in the last 2 years on the phone sales team, um, and thinking of just how many lives I'd touched. You're dialing all day for
Mile and dial.
yeah, literally, and you're talking to probably 10 plus people a day. Um, and so just so many lives touched in those 2 years. And he just put on my heart, like, we're reaching out to these people to help them um, heal their body, like their physical bodies. And that's good. And that's helpful. Um, that's helping people more, which is one of Barton's core values. They got two. They got um, honor God and then help people more. And so we're helping people by helping them get rid of whatever illness or disease that they have. But in that vision, the Lord was like also showing me that He doesn't want to just heal people um, physically, but He also wants to heal them spiritually. And it just broke me for whatever reason. And so I just saw an opportunity, like, man, what if I had shared the gospel with all these people alongside with like sharing this stuff that could help them heal their bodies, share something that could also help heal their spirits. And I started recording a voice memo and just sent it to my dad about the vision and how I was feeling with my current role. And he sent a voice memo back, tears in his eyes. I could hear it. Like I couldn't see it because it's a voice memo, but I could hear like
Yep.
he was crying too. And on the spot, this is something my dad likes to do. So on the spot, he offered me a job in his company, Barton Publishing and Barton Nutrition. They're kind of two sister companies. But he didn't really have a role for me necessarily. And so this is what my dad likes to do. For better or worse, there's definitely pros and cons to doing this. But he sees people with potential, with talent, um, and he might not necessarily have a role for them yet, but he knows that like they're going to succeed and do well. And so again, there's two sides to that coin, some pros and cons there, but that's what he did with me and what he's done with a lot of the team. And so he said, Anders, you're not going to get paid anywhere close to what you're getting down in Austin, but you have a role here at Barton if you want it. And so I prayed about it for about 2 weeks, and then just decided to take the step to say yes. And so I started working with my dad. We didn't really have a name for my role at that time. It kind of developed over my time at Barton, but what we ultimately ended up calling it was the Director of Helping People More.
Hey,
And
I
so
like that name.
yeah, it was based off of that core value, that second core value that I had mentioned, helping people more. But what it ultimately ended up looking like was whether it was with our customers or if it was with our team, just looking for opportunities to serve, whether, yeah, again, our customers or people on the team, where can we improve? Where can we help make it more convenient and easier for people? And so part of it was customer experience, part of it was optimization, and part of it too was just like taking a back seat. And I did know this at the time, but I also recognize it even more so now. A big part of it was just taking a back seat and being a listening ear on important meetings, leadership meetings,
Mhm.
seeing how my dad runs a company, seeing how a leadership team works, and that taught me a lot as far as what I'm doing now, starting a company with my brothers, which I'll get to in a moment. I did want to say too, with the opportunity my dad gave me, you can call it nepotism, which has a lot of times a negative connotation, but you just think of like you, Levi, as a dad, I'm sure a big like motivation for you is to give your children a life that you may not have had, growing up, and like just
100%.
just positioning them so that they can like work off of your shoulders, like where you started, they stand on your shoulders. And so yeah, I think it's just a dad being a good dad and a son taking opportunity. And yeah, I really appreciate my dad for that opportunity.
That's amazing.
um
I like to piggyback off of that. I always like to say, I just hope my children do a little bit better. Take what I did and do it a little bit better. So that's
yeah,
amazing that you guys share that same sentiment there.
yeah, absolutely. So I did that. I worked with my dad for about 2 years. Oh, and also, so in that vision, of being on the phone and sharing the gospel with the people. Um, I never necessarily saw that exact thing happen while I was at Barton, or what I'm doing now. But I will say during my time at Barton, the sales team saw some transition in leadership, and a lot of the guys on the sales team that were there were already going to church, and they all lived in Austin, for the most part, and so they're very involved in each other's lives. They were inviting each other to church, and with the change in leadership, they were given opportunity to. They weren't like, openly, like, it didn't change from a sales team to like a gospel sharing team, but they were just given opportunity, like, hey, if you see an opportunity to pray for our customers, like, do so. Like, Barton Nutrition and Barton Publishing doesn't openly like market as a faith-based company, but in their core values, number one, honor God. And so that when I left, our sales team was given that opportunity of like, hey, if you are able to speak into somebody and share your faith and encourage them, like, please feel free to do so.
Would you be able to give listeners maybe a practice if they're looking to implement some faith-based stuff in their own business, just something simple that they could maybe do?
Yeah. Um, the first thing that came to my mind when you asked that just now is just to pray, and um, pray and ask God, for opportunity, what that looks like. I think a big theme in my story is just opportunity and being presented with those opportunities and then saying yes, not shutting them down. Um, and I saw something the other day that was just like, just ask,
Yeah,
um, and going back to the illustration of God as a father and being a good father, like a good father gives his son or his child good gifts, and if there's a parable or a story in the Bible where Jesus is talking about how if a son asks for, like a loaf of bread from his dad's not going to give him a snake, right? And so just ask from the Lord, but then practically, um, yeah, I mean, you can be praying for whether it's your customers, your employees. I think a lot of it, so much we think of as like, what can we do for others? But I think when we like just posture ourselves to the Lord of like, Lord, I want to be obedient to whatever it is that you call me to do. And so whatever you tell me, like, I'm going to do it. And we already have that posture like going into the prayer. That's when we hear from the Lord. It's not when we like um, are like, all right, Lord, I want you to speak to me. And then he tells you something, and then you're like, maybe, maybe not. It's like you already got to go in knowing that like whatever the Lord says, you're going to be obedient to. Um,
that's a great piece of advice.
yeah, so just praying for others, and then I think with that heart posture change, you're going to see opportunity to serve others, and it's going to vary from business to business, just depending on what your line of work and industry is.
Yeah, awesome. Well, if you don't mind, you kind of alluded to it. What are you doing nowadays?
Yeah, so nowadays, so I worked for my dad for about 2 years, and then about a year ago, this time, right around Thanksgiving, which it's interesting. So my transition from the sales team to Barton happened right around Thanksgiving, and I didn't really think about this until I was rehearsing for this call. But then last year, my transition from Barton to now Temple happened right around, or the idea of it came up around Thanksgiving, and I think that just says so much about the importance of Thanksgiving and gratitude. Um, Going back to my time in Austin, there was a time where I was in a 12-step program, and in those they really emphasize the importance of gratitude. Whether it's ending your day just writing down 5 things that you're thankful for, or starting your day with 5 things that you're thankful for. Um, Posturing yourself in such a way of like recognizing that everything good is from God, and if it's not good, the Lord can still use it. There's scripture that says that everything good is from God, but then there's also scripture that says that all things work for the good of those that love God and are called according to his purpose. And so, um, with that, just recognizing that like in the good and the bad, like you can thank God for anything that you're going through, knowing that it's good and it's from him, or even if it's bad or hard, like he's going to use it for your good. So yeah, with thanks, this all happening around Thanksgiving, I just I think the Lord sees gratitude and thankfulness, and and rewards that. And again, goes back to giving good gifts. Like if you were to give your son a BB gun and he's for Christmas or whatever, and he's like loving it, shooting milk cans or whatever, I don't know, milk jugs.
It's the
I don't
innocent
know.
version of it.
Right. Yeah, true. And you just see like the joy that's on his face, and he comes to you and just like, thank you, Dad, for this gift. Like what father does that not encourage to give more? And so a place of gratitude plays a big role, I think, in all of this. But yeah, in November of last year, one of my brothers had started a fitness coaching business, and he was just kind of learning how to do that. And then another brother of mine was looking to get back into. Um, he was originally planning. So Carson had started a business. That's one of my brothers. My other brother, Cedric, he used to work for my dad, and then he went and did a ministry opportunity down at University of Nebraska Lincoln for about 2 years. But
Okay.
then his time was up there, so he was coming back, and he was planning on just going back to working with my dad doing graphic design and some web design. But then him and Carson just got to talking about doing this business together, and they invited me into it. At the time, I wasn't very interested. They wanted to do a fitness supplement company, um, and coaching, like fitness coaching. And at
Is
the
the
time,
coaching part, is that taking place in person or is that an online coaching?
online.
Okay.
Yep. So at the time, it didn't really interest me, um, just because it was pretty much what I was doing already at Barton. It didn't really feel
Yep.
like anything new, and so I told them no at first. But then a few weeks later, they came back and told me a little bit more about what they'd been thinking, and they called it Temple. And so they explained like they got the name from this verse in the Bible that it's for anyone that wants to look it up. It's 1 Corinthians 6:19. It says, "Your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit." And so that got me a little bit more interested, just knowing that it was going to be faith forward, meaning that like it was going to be part of our brand, part of our marketing was going to be the faith component.
Yeah.
And so just based off of that, I decided to start working with them part time. And over the last, we formed our company in January of this year, 2025, and then we all went full time with it in May of 2025. And
I
yeah,
gotta know what's do you have an interesting title like you had back at Barton Publishing, or what's your title now?
no, so I mean, we're so small, there's just three of us.
No one
But
really has it. You're wearing all hats at all times type
right,
thing,
yeah,
right?
I would call myself head of operations, if anything. And
I think
then
you need to come up with another clever. It catches people when you're going through your LinkedIn and everything. That
yeah.
director of helping people, it catches your eye. That's for sure.
That's true. Yeah, I'll have to think about that. Which, yeah, with our core values, this is something I liked about just the connection between our company and this podcast. So we've got five core values, and when I say these, they're kind of like descriptors of the people that we want to be. Every single week, we've got a specific meeting where we go through these and just like call each other out of where we're exhibiting these core values. And so, first one is Kingdom Seeker, and they're all biblically based. So some of the lingo
Right.
might be a little strange, but Kingdom Seeker, Servant Leader, Tender Truth Teller, Gritty Go Getter, and High Viber. And so that gritty go getter, it's just something that we try to exhibit as like, even if we're, not having the most fun. Oh, I don't know if you can hear that. I'm in my brother's basement right now.
You're golden.
Yeah, unfinished basement. We like to work together down here, but I kind of like it. It gives the vibe of like Steve Jobs and the sorry about that. It gives a vibe
No,
of
you're fine.
Steve Jobs in the garage. So
Yeah.
yeah, but anyways,
It's
yeah,
good for people to see and hear what true grit looks like.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's how we got to where we're at now. Hopefully, I didn't glance over anything important, but ultimately, I think my story is just a testimony of um, being obedient to the Lord in the sense of like, where is He presenting you with opportunity, and how can you just say yes and like drive through the green light that He's given you.
Amazing. Anders, if people want to learn more about your journey or connect with you or see what Temple's doing, feel free to share that with them now.
Yeah, absolutely. So for Temple, what we're working on, our website is buildtemple.com. There's no E at the end of Temple, so buildtempl.com. And then that's our tag on Instagram as well, Build Temple. Um, yep.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show, sharing your story of kind of how you've blended faith and business all together. I think it will really encourage those who are looking to do the same. So I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Levi.
Well, thank you everyone for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.
Know someone with serious grit and a great growth story? Send them our way at grittogrowthpodcast.com/guest.